It's time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Start the party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Anthony Witrado. Here to discuss the fact, Anthony, that for the first time in like 28 months, Will Smith lost in a championship event and is not the World Baseball Classic champion as Venezuela beats the United States. We will get to that and a lot more. Shout out to the people on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter joining us live. We appreciate you. Anthony, happy Tuesday. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. How about the little green beverage over here?
Nice.
My friend got me a cider that comes in a can. You pour it in a glass and it's green. So we're drinking green cider tonight in honor of St. Patrick's Day.
I like it. My brother and his daughter are both born on St. Patrick's Day, different years, obviously. So little quick birthday celebration earlier for them. And then took in some WBC and some Roki Sasaki. And here we are.
Yeah. So plan for tonight, we'll talk a little World Baseball Classic. As you mentioned, Roki Sasaki pitched, appeared in 5 different innings and pitched 3 1/3. So welcome to spring training baseball. We're going to do a big NL West preview. If you have been paying no attention to what the Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, and yes, even the Rockies have been doing this offseason, we've got you covered. And then we've got some news and notes, some interesting stuff on Ohtani, Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, the field renaming, and even potentially a Gavin Stone update. But the World Baseball Classic just ended, Anthony. We don't have to spend a ton of time here. Team USA loses 3-2 in Venezuela. Pretty embarrassing performance from the U.S. until Bryce Harper hit a game-tying home run, which a tie game that lasted like 1.5 outs, I think, before Eugenio Suarez put Venezuela back ahead. Yeah. And the U.S. bats went back to sleep after that.
Yeah. I'll say this, it was a good game. It was a good championship game, better than, a 9-1 or something like that. So that was cool. This is by far, this is the most WBC I've watched ever. Probably aside from 2011 or 2012, whatever year that fell when I covered it. So I saw a lot of it. But since then, this is the most that I've watched. And I wouldn't even say that I watched a ton of it. But I was pretty tuned in terms of knowing what was happening every night. And so I think that this tournament this year captured a lot more of the casuals and even a lot more of the true baseball fans who just really hadn't paid too much attention to it or weren't very passionate about it. And this is probably a little bit of a hot take, but I do think some of the noise around the Dodgers and just pulling Major League Baseball back into the casual sports conversations, salary cap, repeat champion, Shohei Ohtani, all of that stuff, probably should get a little bit of credit for, I think, what this WBC has turned into this year.
100%. I don't think you can argue that what has happened basically going back to the Dodgers-Yankee World Series, the Dodgers repeating in epic fashion against Toronto. There's no doubt that the overall consciousness of baseball has been elevated in America to basically the highest point that it has been in a couple decades. I don't know if it's going all the way back to the home run chase, but that was definitely a peak. We're not there, but it might be the most popular it's been kind of since then. And I think that carries over into the World Baseball Classic. For all the reasons you just said, there was the drama about DeRosa not knowing what he was supposed to do. Yep. There's all the names and faces that are playing for Team USA, Skeens and Scooble on the pitching side, Judge, and all those guys on the hitting side. So I'm with you. I've been criticized for not being a huge World Baseball Classic fan. I paid almost no attention a few years ago. I was dialed in to the semifinals and the finals this time around. And, it's a fun event to be having alongside spring training when the games, the polar opposites of how much these games mean we have Roki Sasaki literally coming into a game, leaving a game, coming back into the game.
Right,
And on the
yeah.
other side, you have like a country that is going to be partying and crying for the next 3 days because of a baseball result.
Yeah, totally. And it is cool to see countries like Venezuela, countries like Japan, countries like the Dominican Republic win also. Like, I think it really shows you what baseball means in those regions. And the celebration. I was telling my group chat with my buddies that, like, when Harper hit that home run, it felt like they were trying to manufacture that kind of excitement on the US side, because it's not natural for baseball. Like, that's not how they grow up playing baseball, right? And like, you get a 1-out single with nobody on the other side, and they're screaming and yelling, and it's true, genuine passion. It comes through, like, it comes through on TV. And so, I think it's good for American baseball fans to kind of see that and see the way the game is celebrated and loved in other parts of the country this year, especially because, like you said, the eyeballs on this tournament this year, it's fantastic for the game. They could kill all the momentum after this season.
Yeah.
But, like, I hope they recognize what this is and what it means and how you can build off stuff like this.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, I've joked on this show, like, I'm of course rooting for the United States. Maybe I shouldn't say of course. There's lots of people not rooting for them. I've been rooting for the United States. But when I'm watching Venezuela, and first of all, this isn't a team that features guys like Tatis and Machado. So although it's not like I like everybody on the Venezuela roster, it's a more likable roster than a couple of the guys I had on the Dominican Republic game the other day. But I just saw how much it meant to them, like, and before, and of course after. And as much as I wanted the U.S. to win, there's no chance this would have meant as much to Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge as it meant to Eugenio Suarez and Miguel Cabrera and all of the guys on the Venezuela team. So it's hard not to be excited. Their manager, by the way, seems like the freaking man. Like, if I ran a Major League Baseball team, I'd go get that guy, because 90% of that job is just managing people. And, like, that guy clearly can do that really, really well, because his team was dialed. He was never too up or down. So as much as I wanted the U.S. to win, I find myself kind of happy for Venezuela that they won.
No, totally. I'm with you, and you're right there. That manager he's the Dave Roberts of Venezuela, right? Like, yeah, totally. He's very, very likable. I was having this conversation too during the game. Like, the USA doesn't have a ton of, like, maybe it's for me, but doesn't have like a ton of likable characters. Everyone feels like very static, cookie cutter.
You're saying on the U.S. team?
On the U.S. side, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of personality there. I'll say that.
Well, and then you've got this from Aaron. Aaron Judge has clutchophobia, the fear of being clutch. Super disappointing. Look, Aaron Judge is one of the best hitters baseball will ever see in the history of the sport. It's not a great track record on the biggest stage. It's just not. And I don't know why. I don't get it. He doesn't seem like overwhelmed necessarily. He seems calm. He seems locked in. The guy just simply can't make it happen when the moment is biggest.
Yeah, it's a tough look for him. But you know what? Like, for other guys who have struggled in the postseason, at least for times, Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod eventually broke out a little bit. But for guys who have had those struggles tied to their names, Judge is, like, easily the most likable of that group.
Well, I mean, pause real quick, because let's be fair. Clayton Kershaw, for most of the world, belongs into this category as well.
Yeah, that's fair. That's actually fair.
And if Kershaw belongs there, he's number one on the most likable. Judge could be number 2 on that list.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Kershaw, though, I think has had really big positive moments too.
100%.
Whereas
you don't have to explain that to me. I just know the national.
Right.
If this was a non-Dodgers fan, there would be screams coming from the other room. Like, excuse me, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, but I mean, you go down Clayton's game logs and, like, you go, like, oh, I didn't realize, like, especially if you're a casual, I didn't realize he went 6 shutout against X team or whatever in whatever division series or something like that. Like, he has had some moments, whereas, like, those other guys, like, they just struggled for a while before, like, some of those guys did have a moment, some didn't. But Judge is in that group for sure. And it was like when A-Rod was going through it, you're like, ha ha ha. For Judge, aside from, like, him being a Yankee and us being Dodger fans, it's like, man, you kind of feel for the guy a little bit.
Yeah. Brutal stuff. And again, our guy, Will Smith, not a great game tonight on his part. The whole U.S. I mean, I don't think somebody had a stat like nobody had advanced past second base in however many innings, and I don't think that ever changed. It's just that Harper hit a home run with a guy standing on first base. So the bats fell asleep for Team USA. The pitching was fine. Pitching was not the problem. In both the semifinals and the finals, I felt like the pitching staff did their job. But when you only score 2 runs against Eduardo Rodriguez and a team that had to play yesterday, so didn't even have necessarily all their best relievers, brutal stuff for Team USA. So they lose.
Makes me sad that guys like Miggy Rowe and Bazooka couldn't be on this team.
Yeah. Well, Miguel Rojas was suspended temporarily for steroids yesterday. So I think that's why. I believe I saw a tweet. Just kidding. That's a joke. In case you didn't see it, a guy tweeted that Miguel Rojas had been suspended 80 days. The tweet was up for like 90 seconds. I got sent it by like 4 different people. And then by the time I clicked on it, it had been deleted. And he was like, oh, my bad, different Rojas. And then everyone's like, by the way, that guy that announcement was 2 weeks ago. Like John Boy was tweeting about that 2 weeks ago. So brutal stuff. Shout out to Rojas. Shout out to Bruce Dark Gratterall. Because
I'm sure they're celebrating no matter what. So
100,000%. 100,000%. So, all right, let's shift gears. Let's get to some Dodger news. And we joked offline, like, man, what a gift from the content people that Roki Sasaki is pitching at 6:00 and we're going live at 8:00. Tell me if you've heard this before, Anthony. Roki Sasaki, up and down performance in spring training. Everybody who watches this show knows that if you and I had to fall on different sides of this, you lean optimistic about Roki Sasaki. I lean skeptical about Roki Sasaki. I would love to get your take on what we saw. The final line from him is 3 1/3, 4 hits, 3 earned, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. And it was just like, I joked with you. I would love to see an hour straight of either awesome or crap. Instead, we get like an inning that's amazing and then crap and then amazing and then more crap. So what did you, as the more optimistic version, make of today?
I'm still not panicked. It's interesting, and it's a little bit maddening that the one thing that is holding him back is commanding the fastball.
Yeah.
The new pitch actually seems to be viable now.
The cutter.
What
they're calling it.
I don't know that it's a cutter, but
that's how Savant is classifying it.
Yeah, the closest description to it, I think, is a cutter. But that and the splitter are actually playing just fine. It's the fastball that he cannot locate. And when that thing is just around the zone, he doesn't even have to be landing it all the time, but it's around. Those other 2 pitches become so much better. Like the splitter is the splitter. We've talked about it. We know what that is. But even the cutter becomes like a really effective pitch off of that fastball when the fastball is a threat. Tonight, he had it as a threat in those first 2 innings, looked really good. Wasn't landing it for a strike every time, but it was effective enough. And the velocity was there. And then when he lost command of it is when just everything else goes to crap for him.
Yeah.
Because everyone just is able to lay off the other stuff. And he could have spammed the cutter. And I think that he has done that before, but I think he was trying to make a concerted effort to throw the fastball for strikes, and he couldn't do it. And the interesting thing with that is when he was around the zone earlier in the game, he was missing all over the place.
Yeah.
When he started to get bad again with it, it was the same miss. It's backing up on him. That fastball backs up on him, and it gets inside and high to right-handed hitters. And when he does seem to land it, it catches too much of the zone and he gets punished. And so I'm seeing that again. It has to be a mechanical thing, because you can't have that same consistent kind of miss that way with the same pitch and the others aren't, unless it's mechanical. And so it's just really interesting that he can't figure that out yet. So I'm not panicked.
Real quick on the mechanical stuff. I think what scares me is we've been told twice already this spring that he figured it out. It was after his first outing, it was no, I found something in the second, and then it fell apart. And then he goes to the backfields and it's oh, I felt good. I found it. And then here we are again and back in the same spot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's figured out. I think he found what was wrong. But the fact that he can't consistently keep that wherever it needs to be is really, really interesting to me. So I'm not panicked still. I'm not going to ever really panic about him this season. Like just, it's not ever going to be there for me with him this season. But in terms of a viable rotation piece, he cannot be in the rotation like this.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
he will be.
he will be. We'll see how long. We'll see how long that leash actually is. I believe he'll be in the opening day rotation. Yeah. How long is going to be interesting. And obviously the Dodgers they've put both 10 toes down that they believe the best way to develop this guy is going to be in the big leagues. So that leash might be long, but I shouldn't say he can't pitch. He's not going to have success if he cannot figure out this fastball.
Yeah.
He's just not going to. Because everything else for every other pitcher, aside from like the handful of guys in the big leagues who are mostly relievers, figure out ways to do it without that. But he's got to figure out how to at least make that a threatening pitch. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good the splitter is. It doesn't matter that he developed a third pitch. He's not going to be effective for very long. And then maybe that's the thing that ultimately sends him into the bullpen at some point in his career. It's not going to be this season, unless maybe in October again or something like that. But it's a thing that if he can't figure out, it's going to continue to look like this. It's going to continue to be a roller coaster for him.
And command is the word. And I think we have to acknowledge that there's differing degrees, because you made this point, right? Like I could give you a stat from tonight that says, depending on where you look, he was 33 to 35% of the time in the zone. The problem is when he's out of the zone, it's not close. Like that other 2/3 are not like just missing outside of it. Honestly, he got a 28% chase rate tonight, but there were so many pitches. If you look at the spray chart, you've almost got to zoom out at pitches that are up and in and up and away and in the dirt. And I think that's the part. I mean, I was taking sort of copious notes because I wanted to sort of pay attention, not just to the macro. Here's the box score. First inning, he throws 18 pitches. It's no hits. It's a walk. It's 2 strikeouts, scoreless inning. Only 5 of the 18 pitches are in the strike zone. So he was getting some chase, which is good. Second inning, it's another 1, 2, 3 inning. Oh, go ahead.
To add, I'll comment after each of these innings that you go through, but like that first inning, you watched hitter reactions, even on pitches they didn't swing at, and they were like, that's the stuff that 29 other teams were excited about when he was coming out. He was making guys look bad, and he's done that. We've seen that before. He did it against the Guardians after he was bad and came back and figured it out. But to your point, like he doesn't have to be in the zone if that fastball at least looks like a threat, because the other stuff then becomes a couple of notches better.
Yeah. And I think what happened, though, the only pushback I would have is I think the only thing that changed in this game is that at some point after like the second inning, the Royals coaches got with their guys and said, these aren't strikes. Stop chasing, stop swinging. Because even when it was successful, like I'm saying, it was 5 out of 18 pitches that were in the zone.
Yeah, but
the only thing that changed was they started laying off, it felt like.
Well, I think you said it earlier, though. I'll push back a little bit on that, because you're right, because he wasn't necessarily landing it for strikes, but it was a lot closer than he didn't start missing that arm side and up. That fastball didn't start backing up on him until the third inning. And like he might have missed a couple to that side, but he was missing all over the place, which makes it a little tougher. So out of hand, as a hitter, you see that ball start to ride in on you as a righty, you know what it is immediately. Yeah. And I think that when it's that kind of miss, that's not even close. It's not a competitive pitch.
Yeah.
It changes the entire outlook of how he's of what his frame looks like.
And I wish I had the graphic, because I would say the spray chart on this game starting in the first inning was kind of all over the place. But second inning comes back. It's a 1-2-3, line out, fly out, ground out, a couple hard hit balls. But again, it's like results. Okay, he gets 3 out. The third inning is kind of where it gets interesting. First batter, 3 straight pitches in the zone, gets a strikeout. You're like, all right, we've settled down. Second batter, 5 pitch walk. He gets a strike on 3-0 that wasn't a strike. Otherwise, it's a walk. Third batter, not close, not close, not close, not close, walk. Gets a mound visit. Fourth batter, strike, ball, walks the bases loaded, gets taken out of the game after 49 pitches. And Nick Robertson bails him out. Like when we see 3 1/3 and 3 earned runs, That's because a reliever named Nick Robertson came in and stranded the bases loaded with 1 out for him. 4th inning, he comes back in. First 5 pitches all in the zone. Then he gets a strikeout, gives up a single. Then it's a 2-run home run. Then it's a strikeout. Then he gets a ground out, comes back in the 5th, not close, double for Starling Marte, and he's out of this one. And so I think you nailed it, Anthony, from the get-go on Sasaki. What we are watching in spring training and looking for, and unfortunately what I think we can all agree we have not seen, is the command. He simply needs to be a threat because, again, my take on this game would be at some point the Royals realized, hey, only a third of these are in the strike zone, and if we just stop swinging, it's not going to get better for him. And I think that's what changed. They got a little bit more selective, and they started doing some damage. I'm with you. It's a roller coaster. There was some good in here. There's no denying there was some good. It's just hard when it's like at some point I would like to see more good than bad. And I don't think tonight was that night.
Yeah, I agree. The frustrating thing with him is that he keeps teasing everybody, right?
100%.
And that's what you were joking with, when we were texting, is that like, I would just show me that you were really bad or like that you can sustain success.
Right.
Because the 1 inning or 1 batter or 2 innings of like, you look brilliant. And then you look like this is the first time you've ever touched a baseball after that. Like at the drop of a hat, like it goes batter to batter with him. That's the frustrating part. And in an inning with him is like, he hasn't shown the ability yet to make an adjustment in the inning.
100%. I'm glad.
And that's what's scary, because that's how, when you're a starter and it's the regular season and you're facing a lineup of regulars, that's when it can snowball on you real fast. And all of a sudden you've given up 5 runs in an inning and you've faced 6 or 7 hitters.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because as I was taking notes, it felt like every single inning where he hit adversity, it got worse before it got better. So first 2 innings were both basically 1, 2, 3 innings, no adversity. 3rd inning, strikeout. Next batter, walk, and it's not close. And all of a sudden, like, he goes from everything's in the strike zone to he walks a guy on 5 pitches to like bases are loaded and he's out of the game. He comes back in the 4th, and it's kind of the same thing where it's like everything's in the zone. Then he gives up a single. Then he's not close. Then he's not close. And then it's a home run. And it was like, as soon as a guy walked, or as soon as a guy got a hit, or as soon as the command faltered a little bit, he just wasn't able to self-correct in the middle of the inning.
Yeah, totally. And that is a key. That's a big part of like really like good pitching success, is that guys will lose it. It's not uncommon. But they can figure it out. They can diagnose and figure it out pretty quickly. He's shown an inability so far to dial it back in once it goes haywire, unless he gets a break, like between innings or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. There's a little bit time left in the spring. I would imagine he's going to get one more start in the Cactus League, right? Like at this rate, because they've got a little bit, like probably one of those freeway series.
I was going to say, yeah, probably against the Angels. Yeah.
Yeah. So we might get one more chance to see Roki Sasaki. And then by all accounts, it is not up for debate whether or not he's going to be in the starting rotation on opening day. So Aaron Garcia with the super chat. Those 2 minutes where I thought Miggy Rowe was a juicer and the Dodgers World Series win was affected by cheating were some of the darkest minutes of my life. I was just fully prepared. I mean, Blue Jay fans had to be sprinting to their computers ready to fire.
Oh, they couldn't get shots out fast enough, right? And then, yeah.
Thankfully, Evan Drellich kind of cleaned that mess up as quickly as possible. So, okay, let's talk a little bit of NL West. This is something you and I had been discussing offline that I think is a helpful exercise, knowing, hey, for most of us, the Dodgers are our focus. And when I say our focus, it's like 98% of our baseball energy is focused on them. Sometimes it's harder to pay attention to, wait, what did the Diamondbacks do again this offseason? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run through each of the teams. I'm going to give you their record last year, major additions, major losses, and then stay tuned, people, because I have comps for every single team in the NL West. And maybe I shouldn't feel good about this. I shouldn't admit that I feel good about these because people might hate them, but I feel good about them, and I'm just going to say that. So let's start with everybody's least favorite team, the San Diego Padres. 90-72 last season, finished in 2nd place in the division, just 3 games back of the Dodgers. Mike Schilt fired, Craig Stammen hired. He has zero managerial or coaching experience. We're going to get to the Giants making one of the weirdest managerial hires ever. And somehow it wasn't even the weirdest managerial hire in the division this offseason. So major additions for the Padres. Michael King returns on a 3-year, $75 million deal. Nick Castellanos, after his release from Philly. Sungmun Song, an infielder. Miguel Andujar on some smaller deals. And then, of course, Walker Buehler on a minor league deal. Major losses for the Padres. Dylan Cease is gone. Robert Suarez is gone. As are Ryan O'Hearn, Luis Arias, and then Yu Darvish. Who knows what's going to be happening with him? When I look at this group, Anthony, the rotation right now is Michael King, Pivetta, who was very good last year, Musgrove, who missed all of last year, and then Randy Vasquez and German Marquez is the rotation.
And Musgrove's going to start on the IL, and he's coming off of TJ.
Tommy John didn't pitch at all last season.
You don't know exactly what you're going to get, but he's starting on the IL. So while he will eventually be part of that rotation, he won't start it.
Yeah. So it's Mike Schilt quit. Excuse me. That's right. I forgot that the technical terminology.
He was like, I'm done with these guys.
Yeah. Mike Schilt, I saw his age, by the way. He's like 50 something. I would have guessed a number starting with a 7 for sure on Schilt, but I think he's 50 something. Give me your thoughts on the Padres, and then I'll come with my comp here in a second. What they've done, again, they lose Cease, they lose Suarez, Michael King returns. Basically, all they did was add Nick Castellanos to a team that lost arguably their best starter and their second best reliever.
Yeah. Nick Castellanos, who another contending team, the Phillies, are paying to not be in their clubhouse anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Good clarification.
Yeah. And so, I think for a while, we've already felt like this team has had clubhouse issues, and they add that guy.
Yeah.
So, look, it's really hard to say that this team got better.
Yeah. Their best guy they signed was a re-signing. It wasn't an addition. They lost their best starter and their second best reliever, and Nick Castellanos is the best new player they added.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's hard to say that the Padres got better. Is this a 85 win team now? I feel like people are gonna pick them, or they may get win totals based on their name and what they have recently been, and that Tatis and Machado are still there, and Jackson's he's a really good player. That guy makes me nervous for the next 10 years as a Dodger fan. Yeah. But this team got worse, man. I really think they went from a real significant threat to I still think they can be a wild card team, but middle of the pack in the National League a little bit.
You ready for my comp for the San Diego Padres?
Let's do it.
Are you familiar with the clothing brand Sheen?
I am, yeah.
That's the San Diego Padres. Eye-catching stuff. It looks sexy on the outside, and then you throw that bad boy in the washing machine 3 times, and it just crumples up. I mean, you scratch beneath the surface of the 5 names you recognize on this roster, and it's I'm sorry, who's the number 4, 5, and 6 starter on this team? I'm sorry, who are the bullpen arms? Who's the backup at any of these positions? They've got name brand guys at a bunch of spots, but there is literally zero depth in this organization at all. So Sheen is my comp. How do we feel? Do we like that comp, Anthony?
I like it. It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
I feel like they're going to get better as we go. I won't tell you which one's my favorite.
Okay.
It's not the last one, but I feel good about one of these for sure. So any other notes for you on the Padres before we move on?
Yeah. I just a lot of their success, especially in the second half last year, came from Xander Bogaerts' sort of rejuvenation. Can you count on that again? I don't know, because he's been bad. Again, the pitching is just, the pitching depth is bad. Yu Darvish is gone. Cease is gone. And you just it's not even just how are they going to get outs, but you start to wonder is this team going to even score enough? They're just. And they have the worst farm system in baseball. So all that trading that AJ Preller likes to do probably ain't going to be happening this year.
Yeah. Yeah. They're running out of guys that they can trade. I mean, look, and Mason Miller again, Mason Miller is awesome. But again, you got to get games to him, and he's your closer. And, Tatis has played a bunch of games in 2 of the last 3 years. He's not exactly somebody you're betting on for 150 games necessarily either. So
it would not surprise me if they do not finish second in this division.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've got a different team, I think, that I would be penciling in for second after doing this exercise. Next up on this is just based on record finishing last year as the San Francisco Giants. They finished a perfect 81-81 last year, third place in the division. Bob Melvin was fired by Buster Posey. They went and hired Tony Vitello. He was the head coach of the University of Tennessee. This offseason, they added Adrian Hauser to a 2-year deal, Harrison Bader on a 2-year deal, Luis Arias and Tyler Mahle. Hauser, for what it's worth, was on a minor league deal in May. He gets $20 million this time around over 2 years, so good for him. Justin Verlander and Wilmer Flores, the major quote-unquote losses. The rotation here, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Adrian Hauser, Landon Rope, and Tyler Mahle for the San Francisco Giants. We've talked a little bit about guys like Bader, Arias, because Bader was on the Dodgers radar, but give me your take here on the manager, the players, the roster, whatever you want.
Yeah. I thought they got slightly better.
For sure.
Not a lot, but they got a little bit better. They addressed what I did like about their offseason is they had some clear holes and they went and filled them. You know, they're not great, but like they made them better. They made those deficiencies better.
Like closer to league average-ish, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And they'll have a full year of Devers. Maybe Adames found something after the slow start last year.
Is a full year of Devers a good thing? Just that I'm just so we're on the same page, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good. He's a pretty damn good hitter.
Yeah.
And he was good for them last year.
Yeah.
You know, does Adames kind of like, you know, was the bounce back real? You know, can Chapman stay healthy? Like there's a bunch of questions. What's their catcher? Is Patrick Bailey going to hit? Yeah. Right. Like they still have a ton of question marks, you know, where do they go in the rotation outside of Webb, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I do think they got better. The Padres got worse. Their threat level to the Dodgers though is still at like a 4.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll zag real quick. I kind of don't hate the manager hire here. I know people are crapping all over this guy, but like Tennessee, he took a program that wasn't that awesome and kind of developed it into a great program. He's a super charismatic guy. He was on a lot of the MLB network broadcasts around the draft and stuff like that. Like, again, I just think how we evaluate managers is probably really, really bad. And this seems like a guy who's probably charismatic, who can probably rally people and manage personalities. Whether that will translate from college to the pros, I don't know. Yeah. I'll just start by saying, like, again, I don't think this was the worst manager hire in the division. And I'll zag and say I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I won't go that far.
That's fair. I know I'm zagging. I'm on an island on that. Again, I think it's like, what are we looking for in a manager? I think he checks a bunch of those boxes.
I'll say this. This has a chance to go really badly for them.
Yeah.
And almost no chance to be like really good, at least not in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Fantastic college coach, fantastic leader of a program.
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten a lot better in terms of how he's dealing with the media from the first time he stepped in front of him and made the entire thing about himself instead of talking about his team on day one of spring training.
Yeah.
He's put his foot in his mouth a couple of other times and then just shown sort of a lack of like major league clubhouse understanding, like how things work in the big leagues. And so there's going to obviously be a learning curve. And that's fine. There is with anybody who is taking a managerial job in the big leagues for the first time. But the fact that this guy's never coached in professional baseball is, I mean, that's a massive risk that they're taking on a team that has a pretty decent amount of veteran players.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, you talk to like guys who have coached or managed in the minors or whatever. And like, I've had the opportunity to cover some first-time managers as like a beat guy too. And one of the things they tell you early on is that the game moves a lot quicker here than it does even in the minors.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's the same as in Division I NCAA baseball. And so how he adjusts to that once the lights are bright will be interesting to watch. I agree with you though. Not the worst managerial hire in the division.
Because the Padres guy has literally never managed anything at any level. Like that's we can crap on college all we want. At least that is like a baseball game that you're in charge of. The Padres guy came out of player development. So I think this is my favorite comp I have for the Giants. Are you ready for this, Anthony? The Giants are Applebee's. That's my comp. They probably peaked 15 to 20 years ago. They seem very content with being average. They're not as good as Chili's, but it's fine. Like, you don't hate it if you end up in Applebee's, but you're not winning any awards and you're not winning anything. And like, their heyday was 20 years ago. So that's my comp for the Giants. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man. You're 2 for 2, I think, so far. That's good. It's kind of like, you can't decide what you want. Like, all right, you know what? We're passing by this. It's good enough. Like, it'll fill us up fine. Like, let's just go there.
We'll get the boneless wings. There'll be some chicken nuggets slathered in some sort of sauce, and it'll be $12. They probably have something for $2 I can drink. And, again, it's not going to be the worst meal I've ever had.
Yeah,
so,
no, totally. You make a good point about how, like, they've peaked. They peaked so long ago, and then they kind of can't figure out what their identity is.
100%.
Like, they've tried to play like this both tracks, sort of. We're going to develop guys, but we're also going to take big swings and trades and free agency, and they just cannot supplement this big league team in the ways that they need to make it competitive enough, especially when you're in a division with the Dodgers. But even if the Dodgers weren't doing this, like, they're still in this position that's just really, like, it's limbo-y.
Yeah.
And they fired 2 managers and a front office guy who the Dodgers were glad to bring back, I'm sure, in Farhan Zaidi, because their ownership could not figure out which way they wanted to go. They are very conscious about filling that ballpark, and also like not just going out and getting a bunch of free agents.
Yeah. Well, and I think because it's like they kind of try, but they're not willing to spend at the top of the market, and they're not as attractive as a destination as they think they are.
No, absolutely not. And I think their ownership thinks that they are the Yankees or the Dodgers.
Yep.
And they're not. And players don't see them that way. So yeah, I for one am very glad that they can't figure this out.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Buster Posey and AJ Preller, lifetime extensions, please. LV Mark says, awesome comp on the Padres, Jeff. Effing hilarious. And then he says, Jeff is on a comp heater. I honestly, I almost went with the Pittsburgh Steelers because it just feels like they're just going to go 9-8 every single year, and they're never going to get a young quarterback, and they're never going to compete. But Applebee's, when it came to me, sounded way better. So, all right, Arizona Diamondbacks, 80-82 last season, 4th in the division. Speculation all summer about whether or not they were going to trade Ketel Marte or not. They were not able to. He sticks around. They add Nolan Arenado, Merrill Kelly, who they traded to the Rangers. They re-signed on a 2-year deal. Zach Gallen re-signed. Michael Soroka signed. He'll be kind of a hybrid starter reliever. They didn't lose anybody, the Diamondbacks. They're bringing back their manager here. Anthony, I'll say it. This is my pick for second place in the National League West. I kind of sneaky like what the Diamondbacks have coming.
Yeah, I think that they caught a bit of bad luck in 24, I thought. And then in 25, right, their big signing got hurt, right, in Burns.
Yeah.
So this is still a pretty good roster.
Exactly.
And it feels like now, guys are getting healthy. It feels like they kind of have a complete addition of like what they thought they were going to have for the last couple of seasons. Do they have enough pitching? Probably not. Like to make real noise, right? Like to really see this thing through. But like, they're probably going to end up with the biggest win total jump, I think, in the division between the rest of the teams outside of the Dodgers.
I mean, I might disagree only because the Rockies, how far back they're coming from. It's hard to imagine. I mean, I forgot how bad the Rockies are. We'll save that. But I'm with you as far as teams that are relevant to the conversation. I'm
talking about big league teams. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
But we know that the Diamondbacks can hit, though. They can hit, and they got some studs. So I think that I'm with you. I think that they're most likely in my book to finish second in this division. Threat level to the Dodgers, 5.
Yeah. Real quick, by the way, Jack Sawinski just hit a ball 114 miles an hour, and it traveled 467 feet for a go-ahead home run. So shout out to my guy, Jack Sawinski. Pair of home runs. All I'm saying, baby, the Jack Sawinski campaign begins. 467 feet. Bonkers. Crazy stuff from Sawinski. You ready for my comp on the Diamondbacks?
Yeah.
They're the Kirkland brand, Anthony. Nobody talks about it. Nobody brags about having Kirkland golf balls or Kirkland golf clubs in their bag. But you know what? They're low-key solid, Anthony. They're better than some of the other crap out there, even though nobody likes to talk about it. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I will say the one thing is that Kirkland's are like a fraction of the price. And like, I still think the Diamondbacks have a pretty expensive roster for what they got.
Fair.
But I think it's a fair comp though. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, again, golf balls are the funniest one. I was listening to a podcast and the guy was basically like, he plays with Kirkland golf balls, but if he hits one into the woods and his buddy's like, "Oh, is this you, Kirkland?" He's like, "No, must not be mine. Must be somebody else's." He's like, "I'm just going to drop. Nobody how to know that we're Kirkland." So there you go. Kirkland brand, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last but not least here, we've got the Colorado Rockies. I forgot how bad they were. They played 162 games last year. Anthony, do you know how many wins they had?
49?
43. Do you want to guess
So bad.
the next worst team in the National League, how many wins they had? The Rockies won 43. What do you think the second worst team in the National League did?
The second worst team in the NL. Gotcha. Sorry. I will say 65.
You're right on it. 66. They were 23 games worse than every other team in the National League. 17 games worse than the worst team in the American League. I mean, 23 games worse than any other team in the entire National League is absolute madness from the Colorado Rockies. And Paul DePodesta, baby, he's back. The Moneyball man from the Dodgers goes to the Cleveland Browns, falls. I don't know. Cleveland Browns or Colorado Rockies, organization you would less likely to work for, Anthony?
Cleveland is not a nice city. So
well, that's what I was just going to say. At least you're the Rockies. You get to live in Denver. There's no expectations. Nobody cares. I think it's the Rockies by a mile. So shout out to Paul DePodesta. Here's another question. Can you name the manager of the Colorado Rockies? There's no chance you can name the manager of the Rockies. No. I want to know if anybody in the chat, without Googling it, can name the manager of the Colorado Rockies. He was named interim last year when their old guy, was it Bud Black? Was that who they had? He was there at some point. I don't know if he was last. Yeah. He got fired. This guy became the interim. He got to keep the job. I haven't seen anybody in the chat say it. His name is Warren Schaefer. Warren Schaefer is the manager of the Colorado Rockies. So congratulations to him. Not Walt Weiss.
Not Walt Weiss.
Major additions. Excuse me. Willie Castro, guys, sneaky liked. Michael Lorenzen, Jose Quintana, Tomoyuki Sugano, all in as pitchers. The last group, Castro, of course, an infielder. Their strategy is to go with guys who throw a bunch of different pitches. So they're like, hey, you know what's better than guys who only throw 3 or 4 pitches? Guys who throw like 6 pitches. So that's what the Rockies have gone after. They lost. I have a category called major losses. I'm not sure literally anybody on the Rockies would qualify as a major loss, but Herman Marquez, Tyro Estrada, Michael Toglia, and Kyle Farmer are the losses there. I have to imagine they win more than 43 games this year. That's my only prediction I'm willing to make on the Rockies.
I think they got some guys who can probably get them some innings. So I think that might be safe. Like, maybe they're a 55 win team, something like that.
Again, the second worst team in the National League won 66.
Yeah,
like
wild.
55
that is a crazy stat.
55 is still, you're the worst team in the league by 11 games.
Still by a lot.
A lot. So,
yeah. Not a whole lot to say here. Like, I think now teams play in their division 9 times, 10 times, something like that, but 9 or 10 games. It used to be like 19 before they tried to balance the schedule out. The Dodgers got to go at worst 7-2 against these guys.
Yeah.
It's Denver's a nice city. The ballpark is really, really nice if you've never been there. If you happen to be in Denver for business or something, my dad wants to actually go to Denver to watch the Dodgers play there, which I'm
low key. You want to know why you should go to watch the Dodgers play in Colorado? I guarantee it's the cheapest Dodgers ticket you will find all year.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you the one who was saying that recently? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was just like, because everywhere else you go, the Dodgers are only there once every other year or once a year. NL West teams. But then, like Arizona, Dodger fans are traveling. Those tickets are expensive. Yeah. Giants, Padres, those tickets are expensive. The Rockies get to see the Dodgers like 10 times a year, every single year. and they suck. So that's like the perfect sweet spot of how to go watch the Dodgers.
Yeah. Like that area is cool where the ballpark sits. Like it's just like, the Cleveland Denver conversation for DeFodesta is an easy choice.
Yeah. 100%.
But yeah, you gotta beat down on that team if you're the Dodgers, if you're anybody in that division. But it sucks that they haven't been able to put a product on the field in so long. The Chris Bryant signing is just so bad for them. It's to a point too where like you kind of feel bad for him. The guy's just, he's done, and you feel bad for him a little bit because he's not Anthony Rendon. Like he's not that dude. Like he
kind of knew what he was signing up for with the Rockies, though.
No, totally. And we don't know what he was told about, like, hey, we're trying to do.
He said, what didn't he say? Wasn't his opening press conference like, we're going to be back in the playoffs every year or something like that?
Yeah, that was dumb. Yeah, he did say that. But I'm sure that he was made promises or said, hey, we want to go in this direction, and then it never happened. But my point about the Rendon stuff is he's not a guy who is like, yeah, get me out of here, just pay me my money, I don't want to play. He's a guy who I think is really trying to get back on the field, and his body's just it's not ever going to let him, I don't think. Like I think we've probably seen Chris Bryant play his last game. So it's just they've turned into like just a sad franchise, man. Like it is what it is. But that's why you got to beat on them.
The Dodgers get to play them 13 times, by the way. That's the divisional deal. So they got to get a bunch of those. My comp for the Rockies is a payphone. You forget they exist until every once in a while you walk by one and you're like, why is this here? What do people use this? Do people go to Rockies games? Are there Rockies fans in the world? What is this? So my comp for the Rockies is a payphone.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere either. The payphones are just going to be there forever, I think. So that's what I got.
And they don't work. Like if you see one and you go, there's like, they don't work.
I love it. Add on. They don't work for sure. So there's your NL West preview, everybody. Good news. I mean, I would say this is the least threatened I have felt in the National League West in a long time.
I would totally agree with you. The last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, partly because other teams were good, partly because the Dodgers had, injury stuff and just didn't play well. They got challenged a bit. And this year, I really don't see it happening. Not because of all the things that the Dodgers did, because they're the most improved team in the division. They might be the most improved team in baseball. But yeah, I mean, just no one really got any better to the point where like they can, I think, threaten them, like seriously threaten them. Diamondbacks are going to get better because I think they're just going to be healthier. But yeah, still a team that, if I don't think anyone's going to bat an eyelash if they finish double-digit games behind the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Padres have been the only team I think that have threatened, and they have gotten worse. Again, I think the Diamondbacks are about the same, maybe slightly better. I think the Giants are maybe slightly better, but I think all 3 of those teams, when you're talking about teams that won 80, 81, and then 90 games, I would guess all 3 of those teams are going to be hovering in the mid-80s. I don't know if any of those teams is going to get to 90, and I think the Dodgers are probably going to be mid to upper 90s, would be a conservative guess this year.
Yeah. If we're well, I'm sure we'll do this again right before the season starts, but I've sort of locked my brain into, I think, 99 wins for this team. And yeah, I don't think anyone in this division wins 90.
Yeah.
Aside from them.
No, I don't think so either. So we got a super chat from Enrique. He says Padres are getting sold soon. That's going to blow things up. Shout out to AJ Preller, though, getting a contract extension before that sale goes through. Good for him.
Right. Yeah.
And good for us. Good for everybody. Nobody loses in that other than, I guess, Padres fans long term. So, all right, let's get to some news and notes because there are interesting things happening around Dodgers camp. Let's start with the main attraction. Shohei Ohtani threw a bullpen on Tuesday, expected to pitch tomorrow in a Cactus League game on Wednesday. 3 to 4 innings, according to Dave Roberts, and then we'll start one of the Freeway Series games likely on Tuesday, I believe they said, which would set him up to make his season debut in the second series of the season. So what's that?
I wanted him to pitch in the first series because I'll be there.
I was like, did I say something wrong? I'm getting the thumbs up from Anthony. Did I give a wrong quote? No, Anthony's just mad because he was hoping to see Ohtani pitch. Guess what? Yeah. Ohtani will be hitting when you're there. At least you've got that.
He will be, yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, this is good news. We weren't sure if he was going to pitch in the preseason Cactus League spring training at all. He's going to get a Cactus League start and a Freeway Series start, and then likely appear in that second series. So positive stuff from Ohtani, and he'll be a full go. That's the other good news. I mean, we didn't really touch on it specifically with Roki, but I've seen lots of people in the chat online saying it. The thing with Roki is there's a chance the Dodgers bullpen is going to get used on nights when Roki Sasaki pitches based on what we've seen so far.
Sure.
So low-key, the Dodgers are going to need Ohtani and Glasnow and Yamamoto and Sheehan or whoever else to kind of like carry their weight. Like, hey, we need 5 or 6 from you to start this so that our bullpen doesn't get absolutely murdered in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see Ohtani basically with the full healthy offseason and, preparing to pitch for, around opening day, being in the opening day rotation. I said it before, he may end up being the most durable starter this year of the group. And I think Yamamoto will be mostly durable, but I think he's a guy that they may give some breathers to. They may give him some extra rest as well. So yeah, like I'm excited to see what Ohtani can do. Like it feels like he's very serious about like being in Cy Young contention too.
Yeah. By the way, some quotes coming in after the Dodgers game. Roki Sasaki blamed third inning command on a sinker he was working on. This is coming from Jack Harris. And then here's the full quote from Dylan Hernandez. Quote, from the standpoint of results, I'm glad this was spring training. If I'm able to pitch the entire season, I don't think anyone will remember spring training. So there you go. There's his thoughts on the day. He personally, according to these quotes, doesn't seem worried. So some good news there from the Dodgers. And for
he got into some like mechanical things of like, I shouldn't like not delivery mechanical, but like arm mechanical stuff that he thought was screwing him up. But you could only keep saying it so many times until you like just, all right, dude, just figure it out then.
Yeah.
And he's getting to that point.
Yeah, exactly. Second news item here, Yoshinobu Yamamoto will return to Dodgers. He's already in Dodgers camp. He will pitch on Friday in spring training, and then we'll be starting opening day. So opening day, 2026, Anthony, officially Yoshinobu Yamamoto Day.
Yeah. This is his second one in a row, right? Given his contract and his age and how good he's been, like we could be seeing a Kershaw-like run of opening day nods for this guy, right?
Yeah.
Like I really think that like he's just going to become the pillar, the staple of this rotation, even with guys like Snell and Glasnow and Ohtani signed for a long time still, and other guys coming in. This might just be his spot as an opening day starter for several more years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Next on this list, we've got Mookie Betts, a pair of articles, Bill Plunkett and then Fabian Ardaya. Some interesting quotes on Mookie Betts this spring, Anthony. Bat speed specific. He has one of the slowest bat speeds in all of Major League Baseball. He attributes how far it came down last year to all of that weight that he lost. He said he feels like this spring his bat speed is finally totally back to where it was when he was younger. Quote, when I show up to the park, I don't have to guess. I don't have to panic. It's the same every day. You're going to have days where you get hits, days when you don't, but I'm not chasing my tail. I'm not physically at a deficit. I'm in a really good spot. They talked about the work he's doing with Yamamoto's trainer, Yama Sensei. So, I mean, look, these are just quotes. We're going to have to see what actually happens on the field. But he's saying the things that I think Mookie defenders like you and me believe to be true about last season.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. We were saying like, there's no way the way this looks that it's just, he's a bad hitter now. And I know the Mookie haters out there were like, well, he was bad for parts of the season before, the last couple of months too, totally ignoring the last couple of months of this past season where he was very good.
Or the fact that he had the highest OPS of any Dodgers player in the playoffs that year either. It's like we ignore the playoffs in that scenario.
Yeah, totally. But like, I think the way he's talking right now is more definitive and more direct and confident than at any point last season once it was clear that he was in the midst of a struggle.
Yeah.
And so like, that's good to hear because he didn't sound this way last year when he was bad. And so it's I think it's good. It feels like a full-on attitude change with him. And not that he's ever been like a bad attitude guy or like a bad clubhouse guy, not to say that, but like he knew he was bad and he didn't know how to fix it. right? And there's a certain tone that you hear coming from a guy who is in that situation versus what we're hearing from Mookie right now. And
Yeah.
it's all up and to the right in terms of, the way what his outlook is right now versus what it might have been in like June of last year.
JY Kim, by the way, with the super chat. Mark DeRosa after tonight's loss. Quote, "We'll get him tomorrow, boys. Best of 5." It's great stuff. He's got to be joking, right? He's been a World Baseball Classic manager for years. This quote also asked on whether he would come back next time for the World Baseball Classic. It would be 100% yes to do it again. Love to get over the finish line. Why? If you saw how hurting the guys in the locker room are now, you would know why. And my response to that is, who's going to tell Mark DeRosa?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he'd say yes if asked. Who's going to tell him that
Sure.
nobody's going to be asking him for that if he wants to have that job in 4 years? So I love it. It's a great quote. Don't worry, guys. Best of 5. We'll be fine. Okay, a couple other news stories. Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium. We don't exactly know the verbiage here, but the Dodgers have reached an agreement to have a field sponsorship. I'm curious what your initial reaction to this. Are you outraged at the sanctity of Dodger Stadium that is being spoiled by sponsorship dollars, Anthony?
Yeah, this was kind of, for me, it was nothing. They're not putting it on the stadium name. They're naming the field. It'll still be Dodger Stadium to everybody. They may request that, TV people or something like that, use the whole name or something, which is, that's fine. They're paying them. It's if this means that they're going to keep pumping money into the roster, then,
Ding, ding.
all good. And it's, I guess it's better than like another hedge fund coming in or, maybe, I don't know. I don't know too much about this company aside from, their clothes, and they kind of have a cool logo. I don't know if they do any like anything shady under the table or anything like that, but there's definitely worse companies, I think, to have buy into your product.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I saw people that were like mad about this, I was like, folks, this is the cost of being the Dodgers. Like, do you want them to pay 115% tax on every dollar they give to Kyle Tucker? Like, this is how that happens. They rename the field something that nobody's going to say or care about. Like, to me, they're not changing Dodger Stadium. That would be the one line too far. Short of that, they want to throw patches on the jerseys. Like, I don't care about any of it. You want to add more sponsorship? If you keep signing the Edwin Diaz's and the Kyle Tuckers of the world, I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything Vin Scully related. Don't touch anything Dodger Stadium related. The rest of it, knock yourself out.
And I think they understand that, right? Like, I'm sure Uniqlo probably came up to them and was like, "How much to name the stadium?" And they were like, "Yeah, you don't have it. So you want to do the field? Let's start talking about the field. We can do that."
Yeah, absolutely. Last one here, and then we'll get to some questions. Gavin Stone, expected to start throwing today. Says he is pain-free, hopes to catch back up to where he was in the next month or so. I have not seen any reports on if he actually did get to play catch today, how he's feeling. I'm sure we'll find some of that in the next couple of days. But again, this is both nothing because it just means he hasn't thrown a baseball for 2 weeks and he doesn't hurt. But it's also best case scenario is that 2 weeks later you get this report, which is my shoulder doesn't hurt and I get to start throwing.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting how this goes now, because he threw 1 inning. We all got very excited. And we were like, he reported no pain or anything like that. And then a couple of days later is when we started to hear the bad stuff. I think they are extra cautious with him going forward. We may not see him in a big league game before the break, like that kind of caution. I should say it wouldn't surprise me. It's tough, man, because he had all the makings of a guy who was going to be a part of this rotation for a long time. And even when he came back, we're like, okay, maybe we can start thinking that way again. And now it's just like, all right, I hope you can make it through this year.
Yeah, totally. By the way, Miguel Rojas has posted a celebration video on his Instagram, him with his family, kind of losing his mind. So fun stuff there. Super chat here from Jedi Engineer. Uniqlo is Japanese fast fashion. Undoubtedly plenty of ethical issues around that. So there you go. Kalshi, that was another option. We could have had Kalshi Field, and we're just taking bets on everything. So, again, I just laugh like the Premier League. It's just betting stuff everywhere you look. So is Uniqlo better than DraftKings Field or something like that?
Yeah, those things. I won't get too far into that, but look, any company or any person that has the money to put into something like this is going to have some sort of issues at some point somewhere.
Totally agree. All right, we got about 5 or 10 minutes left. All caps questions. Throw those in the chat. We will be back, by the way, as always, on Thursday. I will not be back, actually. Anthony's going to be hosting. Debut night as hosting for Anthony Witrado. Bruce is going to be hopping on with him, and then I will be back on Sunday night with Bruce. Fabian can't be here this Sunday, and then we'll get a pretty regular rotation after that as well. LV Mark says, Jeff hates Roki more than olive-flavored cheese. That's not true. I hate olives way more than I hate Roki Sasaki, but I do love cheese more than I love Roki Sasaki. So some olive-flavored cheese I still think is a less than to me. Although, I don't know. The weird thing is I like olive oil, Anthony, but I don't like olives. Make it make sense.
Yeah, I mean, do you really taste olive oil?
I don't know. The good stuff is probably what they would tell us, and that probably means I'm not eating the good stuff. So, nothing new. David wants to know, happy St. Patrick's Day. Are you a fan of corned beef and cabbage?
Hard pass.
I'm a fan of corned beef. Not really that interested in the cabbage part of it.
Yeah, corned beef is fine.
Yeah. Throw it on a sandwich. Nomo Splitter. Is Will Smith's reputation of not being a great second half player behind him after his heroics in the World Series? I wouldn't say behind him. He was still not as good in the second half last year. It wasn't quite the drop off we've seen in the past, but this is a catcher thing. I would say more than a Will Smith thing, this is a catcher thing. If you go look at any catcher, their numbers in the second half, the grind of being a catcher is just going to wear you down. What he did in the World Series, I think, is miraculous given how many innings he had caught and how long of a season that had been.
Yeah, I think for him, he's had some pretty steep drop-offs, but it's because he is such a good offensive player versus most other catchers aren't in the mix for you're making an all-star team because of your bat, let's say. And so he is. And so the declines have been steeper for him from where he started. So yeah, I don't think they're behind him yet because, like you said, he was not as good as he was last year. The World Series is the World Series, but yeah, he's gonna and they're gonna do all they can again to try to keep him as fresh as possible. You're gonna see probably a lot of Dalton Rushing catching again this season. So
opposite field home run for Dalton Rushing tonight, by the way. Not
yeah. I think he'll have a better year than he did last year too. I think he's maybe more comfortable and feels like, okay, he has a place here. But yeah, here's to hoping that Will can shake it this year.
What about corned beef hash? Are you into corned beef hash, Anthony?
You know what? I don't know that I've ever really had hash.
It's good. It's great. Just some corned beef, some eggs, some potatoes. It's great. Delicious. Noisy Ninja. Haven't been able to watch many spring training games. How has Rushing looked? The overall numbers are not fantastic, but I do feel like he's one of these guys where it feels like there's been a little bit of bad luck on some batted balls that maybe he's crushed that have gone for outs. I'm trying to pull up what his current. He did hit a home run tonight, as I mentioned. He's hitting 189 with an OPS a tick under 700. So the numbers haven't been good, but I feel like what I've seen from Dalton Rushing, admittedly not watching every inning of every game, it feels better than 189 with a 695 OPS.
His approach looks night and day from what he was last season. So while the numbers might not be there, it's spring training. I think he's looked like a better hitter during spring training so far than he was last year. So yeah, I think he's gonna have more success this year.
Okay. Jake says, who would you have throw out the first pitch for the first game of the season and then ring night the next day? Kershaw has to be one of those. Without seeing the last sentence, I was like, Kershaw throwing out the first pitch on opening day or something would be electric. I could see them not going straight to Kershaw first appearance.
I think the ring ceremony is more it's more of an event.
Yeah.
So
who would you have thrown out the first pitch those first two games?
Kershaw day 2 for the ring
But
ceremony.
you're saying you would have Kershaw for day 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
For game 1, opening day, yeah, I don't, man. It's tough because like the big, kind of over the hump post COVID was the last season's opening series. This year, I don't know, man. I don't know who is.
Jay Teaser says Bad Bunny should throw out the first pitch on opening day.
I mean, they kind of emptied the clip with the celebrations last year.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who, unless you just kind of recycle somebody, but yeah, I don't know. Would you have an answer for
You
that?
could just go heroes. Like you could go some of the all-time greats.
Sure.
Get those guys out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where my mind went to. I didn't want to do that though. Someone in the chat says Justin Turner. Justin Turner's on a big league roster.
Is he? Yeah. What organization is he with now?
He's with the Cubs, I think. He's still with the Cubs.
Man. Okay. He's a free agent. I don't think he signed with anybody.
Oh, okay. Well, then the podcast I was listening to was wrong.
I could be wrong.
Baseball Barbiecast had him on the Cubs still.
Yeah, his mutual option for 2026 was declined.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. We'll think
Michael
about
B.
it. Somebody
Jordan
in the comments.
Jersey.
Somebody in the comments in the chat, let us know. Give us an answer. Michael B. Jordan, there's a good one.
He's from New Jersey, though.
Aaron wants to know, are you sold on the Lakers? I'm ready to be heard again. Anthony?
I'm sold that they have me excited to the point where I probably shouldn't be. They're not contenders. They're not going to win the title this year.
Well, I was just going to say.
Yeah, I will not be there with this team until they hold the trophy up. Like I do not see that, but they don't have the personnel for it. But
you don't think Marcus Smart's just going to go on an all-time run here now that he's in the starting lineup and 18 a game lockdown defense?
He's been a massive difference maker.
100%.
For sure. Like, I mean, they should have been starting him from the jump, but yeah, like I think I'm sold on them being a team that can make some noise. Like,
yeah,
a month ago, I was like, I don't think this team gets out of the first round. Now, I think there's a path you can see that they can get to the Western Conference Finals if they can keep the 3rd seed. Like, there's a window there. There's, the matchups have to be right, but yeah, like I think they can win a series at least.
Somebody was talking about kind of like the tiers, and I think the first tier is like the Oklahoma Cities of the world.
I think there's only 2 teams in that tier, in all honesty.
Correct.
Like for me, I think it's not to talk too much basketball, but it's OKC, it's Boston, and a lot of people are putting San Antonio in there. There's not a player on San Antonio's roster that's ever won a playoff series in the NBA. Yeah. I don't think so. For me, they're a tier below still, and I'm it's like everyone else who's a good basketball team is in that 2nd tier.
Yeah. And I think the question is, are the Lakers in that 2nd tier? Because some people, I think, would make that like a 4 or 5-ish team tier with the Pistons, the Knicks, the Spurs, maybe the Cavs, that kind of stuff, maybe Houston.
Yeah.
And are the Lakers in that group? I think is the interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But Enrique wants to know, do you think Ohtani should have more days off this year? He's a designated hitter. Like I think he sits down for 85% of the time anyways.
Yeah. No, and I don't think that he wants them.
TQT says Lance Brozdowski mentioned he thinks Roki might ultimately be a reliever. How confident are you he remains a starter during his Dodgers tenure, Anthony?
He'll be a starter all this year. Like I said, like these things, I say this with the caveat that like they could make him a reliever for like October again if they wanted to or something like that. They are not going to commit to him as just a reliever, full-time reliever at the earliest after next season.
Okay, so that's so give me the confidence level beginning of 2028 that Roki Sasaki is still a starter.
Okay. A 10, he's definitely in the bullpen. A 1, he's definitely a starter. I will say 4.
Okay. So you'd say like 60% chance he's a starter, 40% he's a reliever?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm probably right around the same. I think that's a good number. J-Dog says, give me an off the radar, not Raider. Raider and All-Star don't belong in the same sentence. So let me start myself. Give me an off the radar Dodger All-Star because of an electric first half. The key word being off the radar.
Yeah, they don't have many of those guys. I think the only answer is Andy Paez, unless you go with like an Emmett Sheehan or something like that. I would say
I was going to say Max Muncy. Like Max Muncy doesn't feel totally off the radar, but he's like, I don't think most people would be penciling him in either. So Muncy is the first name that popped into my head.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good one. Muncy's made a couple already.
Totally.
And so like he's on off kind of. Yeah, I get that. I'll say Paez because I thought Paez was an all-star last year in the first half.
Yeah, he deserved to be for sure. And then, I mean, I don't like, does Tanner Scott, like if you believe in a Tanner Scott bounce back, does he qualify as off the, I mean, I feel like after the year he just had, that'd be pretty off the radar.
One of my bold predictions was that caveat of like mostly only closers make the all-star team, but like that he would be an all-star. Like he would have the numbers good enough to be an all-star.
Yeah, totally. For sure. So, all right, folks, on that note, happy St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. Like I said, hop in here on Thursday. Anthony's going to be hosting with Bruce. That'll be fun. So make sure you're here for that. We'll be back on Sunday, me and Bruce. And then opening day. What is it? A week from Thursday is opening day. Yeah. We've got baseball in at least MLB stadiums coming up with the Freeway Series next week. So it is close, baby. The Dodgers we're almost done with this spring training stuff, which is going to make it a lot more fun. As always, we appreciate the people hopping in and joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you for the folks that watch after the fact on YouTube. Ring the notification bell, click subscribe if you're new. We'd love to have you join us for the regular season podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Check those out as well. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, still.